Humanity has never been a species that remains still. From the moment early humans learned to walk upright, movement became survival, and curiosity became instinct. Long before written history, humans migrated across deserts, mountains, and frozen land bridges, not because they knew what awaited them, but because staying in one place meant extinction. Space colonization is the continuation of that same ancient impulse, scaled to the size of the universe. It is not a sudden ambition born from modern technology, but a natural consequence of intelligence reaching the limits of its birthplace. Earth gave rise to humanity, shaped it, protected it, and nourished it, yet Earth has never promised permanence. Every civilization that believed itself eternal eventually learned otherwise. The planet itself is vulnerable to forces both internal and cosmic, reminding us that survival requires foresight beyond comfort. As human knowledge expanded, the sky transformed from a ceiling into a doorway. The stars were once myths, then navigation tools, then scientific objects, and finally destinations. Space colonization is not about abandoning Earth or declaring it insufficient. It is about reducing the risk of total extinction by ensuring that human life does not depend on a single fragile world. Asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, nuclear conflict, climate instability, and cosmic radiation are not science fiction threats, but scientifically documented possibilities. A single planetary home, no matter how beautiful, is a single point of failure. By spreading beyond Earth, humanity increases its resilience against the unpredictable nature of the cosmos. The idea of living beyond Earth forces humanity to confront its limitations. Space is hostile in every measurable way. There is no breathable air, no natural shelter, lethal radiation, extreme temperatures, and vast distances that isolate settlers. Purely a planetary species and begins its transformation into a cosmic one. This transition will be slow, difficult, and filled with setbacks. Failures will be inevitable, sacrifices unavoidable, and progress uneven. Yet every major leap in human history followed this same pattern. The question is not whether space colonization will be easy, but whether humanity is willing to accept responsibility for its own future. In choosing to reach beyond Earth, humans are not escaping their world, but honoring it by ensuring that the life it created does not disappear with it. Human history is defined by movement. From the earliest migrations across continents to the exploration of oceans and skies, survival has always favored those who dared to move beyond the known. Space colonization is not a sudden ambition born from rockets and satellites, but the continuation of a deep evolutionary instinct. Earth is the cradle of humanity, but no cradle is meant to hold its child forever. Natural disasters, climate instability, asteroid impacts, and cosmic events remind us that Earth, while extraordinary, is not invulnerable. Relying on a single planet for the survival of an entire intelligent species is a risk written into our future unless we choose otherwise. As science replaced myth, the sky transformed from a boundary into a frontier. The stars ceased to be distant symbols and became destinations governed by physical laws. Space colonization represents the moment humanity begins to take responsibility for its long-term survival. It is not about abandoning Earth or declaring it insufficient, but about ensuring that life, knowledge, and consciousness continue even if Earth someday cannot support them. A multi-planet civilization is more resilient, capable of surviving events that would otherwise end human history in a single moment. Yet space is not welcoming. It offers no air, no warmth, no natural shelter, and constant exposure to radiation. These conditions challenge every biological system humans depend on. Choosing to enter such an environment is not an act of arrogance, but of necessity and foresight. Throughout history, humans have adapted technology to survive deserts, oceans, frozen lands, and extreme altitudes. Space is the final and most demanding environment humanity has ever faced, requiring intelligence, cooperation, and long-term thinking at an unprecedented scale. Space colonization will not happen overnight. It begins with exploration, experimentation, and learning how fragile the human body and mind are beyond Earth. These early steps are not settlements, but preparation for a future where living beyond Earth becomes possible. This transition marks a turning point in human identity. Humanity begins to shift from a species bound to one world into a species capable of carrying life beyond its birthplace. In doing so, humans are not leaving Earth behind, but ensuring that what Earth created continues to exist, no matter what the universe may bring. Mars represents humanity's first realistic opportunity to live beyond Earth for extended periods of time, not as visitors, but as settlers. Among all the planets in our solar system, Mars is the most similar to Earth in structure and rhythm. Its day is only slightly longer than Earth's. Its axis still creates seasons, and evidence shows that liquid water once flowed across its surface. These similarities make Mars psychologically and scientifically appealing, but familiarity should not be mistaken for friendliness. Mars is a cold, dry, radiation-bathed world where survival depends entirely on preparation, technology, and discipline. Living on Mars will not resemble life on Earth transplanted elsewhere, but the creation of a fundamentally new way of existence. The Martian atmosphere is thin and composed mostly of carbon dioxide, offering no breathable oxygen and almost no protection from cosmic radiation or solar storms. Without a strong magnetic field, Mars allows high-energy particles to reach the surface, damaging cells and increasing cancer risk. For this reason, early human habitats will almost certainly be built underground or covered by thick layers of Martian soil. These structures will act as shields, protecting settlers from radiation and extreme temperature swings. Above ground, the Martian surface can shift from mild daytime warmth to deadly nighttime cold within hours. Habitats must be sealed, pressurized, and capable of maintaining stable internal environments regardless of external conditions. Water, the foundation of life, exists on Mars mostly as ice locked beneath the surface and at the poles. Extracting this water will be one of the first priorities of any Martian settlement. Advanced drilling systems will melt ice and purify it for drinking, oxygen production, and agriculture. Nothing will be wasted. Every drop of water will be recycled repeatedly through closed-loop systems, mimicking and improving upon technologies already tested aboard space stations. Air will be carefully managed, with carbon dioxide scrubbers and oxygen generators operating continuously. A failure in these systems would not be inconvenient, but fatal, making redundancy and constant monitoring essential. Food production on Mars cannot rely on regular resupply from Earth. Transporting large amounts of food across millions of kilometers is expensive, slow, and unreliable. Martian settlers will grow their own food using hydroponic and aeroponic systems, where plants grow without soil under carefully controlled conditions. Artificial lighting, nutrient solutions, and genetic modification will allow crops to grow efficiently in confined spaces. Over time, plants may be adapted specifically for Martian gravity and radiation exposure. Food will not only sustain bodies but also provide psychological comfort, as tending plants connects settlers to life and growth in an otherwise barren world. Gravity presents another challenge. Mars has only about 38% of Earth's gravity. Long-term exposure to low gravity weakens bones, reduces muscle mass, and alters cardiovascular function. While exercise can slow these effects, it may not fully prevent them. Over generations, humans born on Mars may develop different physical traits, becoming taller, lighter, and structurally adapted to their environment. This raises profound questions about human evolution. Martians, after many generations, may no longer be biologically identical to Earth humans. Space colonization thus becomes not only a technological endeavor, but a biological one, shaping the future form of humanity itself. Psychological survival on Mars may prove as difficult as physical survival. Distance from Earth creates communication delays, preventing real-time conversation. Emergencies must be solved locally, without immediate help. Isolation, confinement, and awareness of constant danger can strain mental health. To counter this, Martian habitats will be designed with human psychology in mind. Lighting will simulate Earth's day-night cycles. Communal spaces will encourage social interaction, and virtual reality may allow settlers to experience Earth-like environments. Strong social bonds will not be optional but essential. On Mars, cooperation is survival, and conflict threatens everyone. Governance on Mars will likely evolve differently from Earth. Traditional nation-state models may not function well in an environment where survival depends on collective responsibility rather than competition. Early Martian societies may prioritize scientific leadership, shared resources, and strict safety protocols. Laws will focus on protection of life support systems, environmental control, and population stability. Over time, Martian culture will emerge, shaped by scarcity, precision, and a deep awareness of dependence on technology. Celebrations, art, language, and traditions will reflect the red planet's harsh beauty and the courage required to live there. Mars colonization is not a temporary experiment, but the foundation of humanity's expansion into the solar system. Lessons learned on Mars will influence future settlements on moons, asteroids, and distant planets. Every success and failure will refine humanity's understanding of how to live beyond Earth. Mars will not become a second Earth, but it does not need to. Its role is more important than imitation. Mars is the proving ground where humanity learns whether it can truly become a multi-planet species. If humans can survive, adapt, and build lasting communities on Mars, then the dream of permanent life beyond Earth transforms from possibility into reality. While planets like Mars offer a natural stepping stone for human expansion, the long-term future of space colonization may not depend on planets at all. Space habitats, built entirely by human design, represent a more flexible and scalable vision of life beyond Earth. Unlike planetary surfaces with fixed gravity, atmosphere, and environmental limits, artificial habitats can be engineered to suit human needs precisely. These structures would float in space, orbiting Earth, Mars, or the Sun, free from the geological and atmospheric constraints that make planets difficult to inhabit. In many ways, living in space habitats may be safer and more sustainable than settling on hostile planetary surfaces. One of the greatest advantages of space habitats is the ability to create artificial gravity. By rotating massive structures, centrifugal force can simulate gravity similar to Earth's. This prevents the long-term health problems associated with low gravity, such as bone loss, muscle weakening, and cardiovascular changes. Inside these rotating habitats, people could walk, run, and live in environments that feel natural to the human body. This makes space habitats particularly suitable for long-term and multi-generational living, where children can grow and develop without the risks posed by reduced gravity on planets like Mars. The construction of such habitats would rely heavily on resources found beyond Earth. Launching building materials from Earth is costly and inefficient. Instead, future space industry would mine asteroids and the moon for metals, water, and other raw materials. Asteroids contain vast amounts of iron, nickel, and rare elements essential for construction and technology. Water extracted from icy bodies would be used not only for drinking and agriculture, but also for producing oxygen and rocket fuel. This resource independence marks a critical transition, allowing space settlements to grow without constant reliance on Earth. Inside space habitats, life support systems would function as closed ecosystems. Air, water, and waste would be continuously recycled, creating a delicate balance that mirrors natural cycles on Earth but operates with far greater efficiency. Plants would play a central role, producing oxygen, absorbing carbon dioxide, and providing food. Entire ecosystems could be designed, from forests and gardens to small bodies of water, offering both practical benefits and psychological comfort. These artificial environments would remind inhabitants that even in the emptiness of space, life can flourish through careful design and responsibility. Future space cities would not resemble Earth cities simply lifted into orbit. Architecture would adapt to three-dimensional living, with structures extending in all directions rather than spreading across land. Transportation would rely on controlled momentum, magnetic systems, and careful navigation rather than roads and vehicles. Without weather, erosion, or natural disasters like earthquakes, habitats could be designed with extraordinary precision and longevity. However, the absence of natural limits also increases risk. A single major structural failure could endanger an entire population, making safety engineering and redundancy absolute priorities. Culturally, space habitats would give rise to new forms of social organization and identity. People born in orbit may feel little attachment to any planet, seeing space itself as home. Their sense of belonging would be shaped by shared reliance on technology and community rather than geography. Art, music, and storytelling would reflect the experience of living between worlds, where Earth is a distant blue presence rather than the center of existence. Over time, these orbital societies may develop values focused on balance, sustainability, and cooperation, knowing that misuse of resources or conflict threatens immediate survival. Space habitats also offer a pathway for humanity to expand gradually rather than through risky planetary terraforming. Instead of altering entire planets, humans can build environments that suit them while leaving celestial bodies largely untouched. This approach raises important ethical considerations about humanity's responsibility to preserve cosmic environments. Space cities could become centers of research, industry, culture, and exploration, serving as gateways to deeper space missions and distant star systems. The rise of space habitats represents a shift in how humanity defines civilization. No longer tied to continents or planetary surfaces, civilization becomes mobile, adaptable, and modular. Humans gain the ability to build homes wherever resources and energy are available. In this future, space is not an empty void to be crossed, but a living environment shaped by intelligence and care. Space habitats transform the dream of living among the stars from a distant vision into a practical and enduring reality. Surviving beyond Earth is not only a matter of engineering and biology, but of the human mind. Even if technology can provide air, water, food, and shelter, psychological stability remains one of the greatest challenges of long-term space habitation. Humans evolved on a planet filled with open skies, natural landscapes, and constant sensory variation. Space settlements, whether on Mars or in artificial habitats, are confined, controlled, and isolated environments. The absence of natural horizons, weather, and unfiltered sunlight can quietly affect mental health over time, creating stress that no machine can repair. For space colonization to succeed, psychological survival must be treated as a life support system as vital as oxygen. Isolation is one of the defining experiences of life beyond Earth. Distance creates communication delays, meaning that conversations with Earth cannot happen in real time. Emergency situations must be handled without immediate external help. This reality forces space settlers to develop a strong sense of self-reliance and trust in one another. Group dynamics become critically important. Small conflicts, if left unresolved, can escalate into serious threats to survival. For this reason, future space societies will place extraordinary emphasis on emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, and cooperative decision-making. Selection and training of settlers will focus as much on psychological resilience as on technical skill. The design of living spaces will play a major role in maintaining mental health. Artificial lighting systems will simulate Earth's natural day and night cycles to regulate sleep and hormonal balance. Colors, textures, and spatial variety will be carefully chosen to reduce feelings of confinement. Green spaces filled with plants will serve both functional and emotional purposes, offering a sense of life and growth in otherwise mechanical surroundings. Virtual reality may allow settlers to experience Earth-like environments, revisiting forests, oceans, and cities that exist only as memory or data. These technologies do not replace reality, but they help bridge the emotional distance between humans and their place of origin. Social structure in space will differ significantly from that on Earth. In environments where survival depends on shared systems, extreme individualism becomes dangerous. Every action, from resource use to maintenance routines, affects the entire community. As a result, space societies may develop values centered on responsibility, transparency, and mutual accountability. Leadership will likely be based on expertise and trust rather than power or tradition. Decisions about life support systems, population growth, and exploration priorities will carry immediate consequences, encouraging careful and collective governance. Children born in space will experience identity in ways never known before. Earth may be a place they have never visited, known only through images, stories, and history. Their sense of belonging may be tied more strongly to their habitat or planet than to any nation. Over generations, this could lead to the emergence of distinct space cultures, shaped by shared experiences of isolation, dependence on technology, and awareness of vulnerability. Language, traditions, and values may slowly diverge from those on Earth, creating new branches of human civilization. Ethical questions will grow more complex as space populations expand. Decisions about reproduction, genetic adaptation, and medical intervention will carry long-term consequences. Low gravity, radiation exposure, and closed environments may encourage the use of genetic screening or modification to ensure healthy offspring. These choices challenge traditional ideas about human rights, diversity, and equality. Space societies will need ethical frameworks that balance individual freedom with collective survival, avoiding both reckless experimentation and stagnation. Perhaps the most profound change brought by life beyond Earth is the transformation of human perspective. From space, Earth appears as a small, fragile world suspended in darkness. This view reinforces the interconnectedness of all human life and the artificial nature of many divisions created on Earth. Space settlers may develop a stronger sense of global and even cosmic identity, seeing themselves not as citizens of nations, but as participants in a shared human story. This shift in perspective may influence how humanity behaves both in space and on Earth. Psychological survival in space is ultimately about meaning. Without meaning, technology becomes a hollow shell. Space colonization must offer settlers not only safety, but purpose. Exploration, discovery, and the act of building a future for generations yet to come provide that purpose. In learning to live beyond Earth, humanity is also learning what it truly values. The success of space colonization will depend not only on rockets and habitats, but on the strength of the human spirit adapting to an endless frontier. The question of whether humans can survive outside Earth forever extends far beyond the success of early settlements. Short-term survival can be achieved through technology, discipline, and careful planning, but permanence requires something deeper. It demands that humanity learns to adapt biologically, socially, and technologically to environments that were never meant for human life. Space colonization is not simply about maintaining life support systems. It is about creating conditions in which future generations can be born, grow, and live meaningful lives without constant crisis. Over long periods of time, the human body will not remain unchanged in space environments. Reduced gravity, radiation exposure, and artificial ecosystems exert continuous pressure on biology. Even with exercise and shielding, the body adapts in subtle ways. Bones may become lighter, muscle distribution may change, and cardiovascular systems may adjust to new gravitational norms. If humans remain in low-gravity environments for many generations, these changes could become permanent. This process of adaptation may be guided by natural selection or influenced deliberately through medical intervention and genetic technology. The idea of humanity splitting into different physical forms based on environment, once science fiction, becomes a realistic possibility. Technology will play an essential role in supporting long-term survival. Artificial intelligence systems will manage complex life support networks, predict failures before they occur, and assist with decision-making in environments where human error can be fatal. Autonomous machines will perform maintenance, construction, and resource extraction, reducing the risk to human life. Energy generation will rely on advanced solar arrays, nuclear power, and possibly fusion, providing the constant power required to sustain habitats and cities. As technology becomes more integrated into daily life, the boundary between human and machine may blur, creating new definitions of what it means to be human. Resource sustainability is central to permanent survival. Space settlements cannot rely on endless growth or constant expansion without regard for limits. Closed-loop systems must operate efficiently, recycling materials with minimal loss. Waste becomes a resource, and scarcity enforces discipline. This environment may encourage a more sustainable mindset than that found on Earth, where resources often appear abundant and distant consequences are ignored. Space societies may become models of efficiency and environmental responsibility, lessons that could influence life on Earth as well. The concept of forever also raises questions about purpose. Survival alone is not enough to sustain civilization. Humans require meaning, creativity, and progress. Space settlements must support education, art, science, and exploration to avoid becoming stagnant or oppressive. The pursuit of knowledge, whether through studying the universe or improving life support technologies, provides direction and motivation. Over time, space civilizations may see themselves as guardians of human knowledge, preserving culture across vast distances and time scales. Despite all preparation, survival outside Earth will never be completely safe. Space is unpredictable, and absolute control is impossible. Accidents, system failures, and external threats will always exist. The goal of space colonization is not to eliminate risk, but to manage it intelligently. By spreading across multiple habitats and worlds, humanity reduces the chance that a single disaster could end its story. This distributed existence transforms human civilization from a fragile, centralized system into a resilient, adaptive network. Living beyond Earth forever may ultimately require redefining humanity's relationship with its origins. Earth will remain culturally and emotionally significant, but it may no longer be the center of human life. New generations may feel a stronger connection to their habitats, planets, or stars than to Earth itself. This shift does not represent loss, but evolution. Just as humans once moved from caves to cities, from continents to oceans, they now move from planets to the cosmos. The survival of humanity beyond Earth is not guaranteed, but it is possible. Achieving it will require humility, cooperation, and a willingness to change. Space colonization challenges humanity to grow beyond its past conflicts and limitations. In humans succeed, they will carry life, consciousness, and culture into environments where none existed before. In doing so, humanity becomes not just a species that lives in the universe, but a species that actively participates in its unfolding story. Humanity's journey into space is not merely a technological challenge, but a profound test of imagination, resilience, and identity. From the first exploratory missions to Mars, to massive orbital habitats and interplanetary colonies, each step expands the boundaries of what it means to be human. Space colonization forces a confrontation with our limitations and vulnerabilities, demanding innovation, discipline, and foresight. It asks us to consider not only survival, but the quality and meaning of life far from the cradle of Earth. In space, human ingenuity becomes the most essential resource, surpassing even raw materials or energy. Every habitat, every mission, and every decision is a thread in the fabric of a civilization stretching beyond its original home. Life beyond Earth transforms not only the physical form of humans, but the social and cultural structures that define us. Communities must develop trust, cooperation, and a shared sense of responsibility to survive in environments where small mistakes can have catastrophic consequences. Children born in space will inherit identities shaped by distance, isolation, and dependence on technology. Over generations, these new societies may evolve values, traditions, and even physical traits distinct from their ancestors on Earth. This evolution challenges conventional notions of nationality, culture, and humanity itself, creating a future in which being human is defined less by birthplace and more by adaptability, resilience, and consciousness. Ethical and philosophical considerations take on unprecedented importance. Reproduction, genetic adaptation, resource allocation, and governance must all be approached with long-term foresight. Decisions made today will affect countless generations yet unborn. Space colonization compels humanity to balance individual desires with collective survival, to embrace cooperation over competition, and to think in scales measured not in years, but in decades and centuries. In confronting these challenges, humans may discover a deeper understanding of themselves and the responsibilities of intelligence in the universe. The expansion of humanity into space also carries a profound cosmic significance. Through human life and consciousness, the universe becomes aware of itself. By preserving knowledge, culture, and life beyond a single planet, humans allow existence itself to be reflected upon, appreciated, and transformed. Space is no longer empty. It becomes a canvas for civilization, a medium in which life can flourish in forms unimaginable on Earth. The survival of humanity beyond its home planet is therefore not only a practical endeavor, but an expression of the universe's capacity for self-realization. Ultimately, the future of human life in space rests on courage, cooperation, and vision. Space colonization is not a guarantee of immortality, but a pathway to resilience. By spreading across planets, habitats, and orbital cities, humanity safeguards against cosmic hazards, technological failures, and environmental crises that could otherwise end life as we know it. Each new settlement, each innovation in survival and adaptation, is a step toward a future where humans are no longer bound to a single world, but free to explore, inhabit, and create across the cosmos. The story of humanity in space is still being written. It is a story of exploration, adaptation, and transformation, guided by curiosity, determination, and the desire to endure. Earth remains the foundation that taught us to survive, thrive, and dream, but the universe offers endless horizons. In taking that first step beyond our home, humans embark on a journey not just to inhabit other worlds, but to redefine the very meaning of life itself. Space colonization is therefore both a challenge and an opportunity, the ultimate experiment in resilience, ingenuity, and the continuity of consciousness. Humanity's legacy may well be measured not only by how long we survive, but by how boldly we carry life into the stars, preserving the spark of awareness in the vastness of the cosmos.